Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Ajnanaatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dhyanamoolam Gurormurtihi Poojaamoolam Guropadam Mantramoolam Gurorvakyam Mokshamoolam Guru Kripaha. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe Pullarvindaayatapatra netra Yena Tvaya Bharata Taila Purnaha Prajwalito Jnanamaya Pradipaha. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsachanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. My humble prostrations to the lotus feet of my Pujya Gurudev, Pujya Sadguru, Sri 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 Sai Kumar Babaji. My namaskars to Ashram's Uttaradhikari, Sri Kirtima Ji, and Sai Shiva Hari Om to all of you. A very warm welcome to all of you. There are 18 rooms in the mansion of the Bhagavad Gita, and every room has a display of many objects. In the last session, that was on Tuesday, we entered the first room of the mansion. That was Arjuna Vishada Yoga. And what did we find in that room? We found Dharmakshetra, Kurukshetra. So we discussed about it, the importance, what is Dharmakshetra, what is Kurukshetra. Rani Rasmani of the 18th century, she was a zamindar, a great philanthropist, a social worker, and very much inclined to spirituality. She was in Kolkata. She was the founder of the 𝘸𝘰𝘪𝘴 Kalika Devi temple in Kolkata, and she was the one who appointed Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa as the priest of the temple. So Rani Rasmani, she made it a point that every Saturday and Sunday, she would have the scriptures read out to her and explained. So once she invites a learned scholar to explain the tenets of the Bhagavad Gita to her. The scholar starts with the first sloka, Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre. He explains what is Dharma, how to abide by the rules of Dharma, what is Kshetra, and he compares the Kurukshetra to the body. The Kurukshetra was placed where? In Punjab, south of Ambala, north of Delhi. That place is compared to this physical body. So after explaining everything to her clearly about Dharmakshetre, Kurukshetre, Rani Rasmani tells, stop, stop. Enough. I have understood. Let me follow this. Let me put into practice what I have listened today. If I put into practice all this, my life will be blessed. This one sloka is enough for me to transform my life. And she tells, hey Pandit, I have understood that this physical body is the Kshetra, where Kurukshetra, where continuous conflict is going on between the virtues and vices, the Kauravas and the Pandavas, and I have to remove the weeds of the vices and sow in it the saplings of dharma, of righteousness, virtues, right moral conduct, truthfulness, patience, tolerance, fortitude. All these I have to sow the seeds. I know I can transform my life with these two words, 𝘠𝘪𝑚 𝑘𝑠hetra, So she stops him there. See, such is the power of the first sloka, 𝘠𝘪𝑚 𝑘𝑠hetra 𝑠amaveta 𝑦uyotsavah. You can just transform your life. So, Rani Rasmani then begins her spiritual sadhana. So this is the importance of the first sloka of the Bhagavad Gita. Then later we discussed about Arjuna's Vishada, Arjuna's grief. And today we are entering the second room of the mansion of the Bhagavad Gita, Sankhya Yoga. This room is named as Sankhya Yoga, means the yoga of discriminative knowledge. So what does Sankhya mean? Sankhya means Sankhya. Sankhya means number. We are dealing with numbers here. To know about Atma Vicharana, for self-inquiry, Sankhya is very important. During Atma Vicharana, we have to deal with Sankhya, number. So, what Sankhya? There are 24 tattvas which are anatma. Anatma means that which is not pertaining to the Atma. It is no way concerned or related to the Atma. What are those 24 tattvas? The 24 tattvas are the Pancha Jnanendriyas, the 5 organs of knowledge, Pancha Karmendriyas, the 5 organs of action, Pancha Pranas, Prana, Apana, Vyana, Udana, Samana, and Pancha Bhutas, the 5 elemental forces. These are 20, 5, 5, 5, 5, 20. Then next comes the mind, the intellect, Chitta, and Ahankara. So these constitute the 24 tattvas. They are anatma. They are inert. To delve into self-inquiry, we have to get away from these 24 tattvas, from this Sankhya. We have to be far away from the objects of these 24 tattvas. So that is why this chapter is entitled as Sankhya Yoga. It is dealing with numbers. Now, in the second chapter, from the beginning itself, Sri Krishna starts speaking. He tells Arjuna, Kutastva kashmalamidam vishame samupasthitam anarya jushtam asargyam akirtim karam Arjuna. Sri Krishna says, Arjuna, in this hour of crisis, how did this mental dejection and weakness take hold of you? It is unworthy and shameful. It is not fit for a valiant warrior like you. Arjuna was in tears. Tears were welling up his eyes. Arjuna says, it is better to die, Krishna. It is better to live on begging than kill my own Guru, Dronacharya, kill my own grandsire, Bhishmacharya. Then Krishna instills confidence in him. He encourages him. And how does he encourage him? Krishna says, before Krishna could instill confidence in him, Arjuna says, Karpanya dosho pahata svabhavah pruchhami tvam dharma samudha chetaha 𝘕𝘕𝑦𝑎 निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्तेऽहं शाधिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. He says, my mind is tainted with pity. I am confused. I am not able to distinguish between right and wrong. Krishna, I surrender to you. I am your disciple. Please guide me. I take refuge in your feet. What should I do? The moment Arjuna says, Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam, there's a big smile on Krishna's face. Why? Krishna feels very happy because he was waiting for this moment. Shishyasteham shadimam tvam prapannam means, I am surrendering to you. Direct me, guide me. I take refuge in your feet. It is only when the disciple surrenders completely in dedication that the Guru imparts the knowledge of the Brahman. And such a situation has come here in the Kurukshetra warfield. So, Krishna thinks the right time has come. Strike the iron when it is hot. But a doubt may arise. We, in the second session, we have discussed that the Bhagavad Gita is divided into 3 sections. The 18 chapters are divided into 3 sections: Karma Shatkam, Bhakti Shatkam, and Jnana Shatkam. So we are in the second chapter. That means it falls under Karma Shatkam. Karma means action. Sri Krishna should be talking about karma, that is action, and how is it that he is going to talk about the state of Brahman, about the knowledge of the Atman in the second chapter. Here we have to understand, though the Gita is divided into 3 sections, all 3 sections, all 3 shatkams are intertwined, they are intermingled. Because when you are doing karma, you have to do karma yoga. Bhakti is important. So Bhakti Shatkam comes there. And when you have Bhakti Shatkam, their Jnana obviously flows. That is Jnana Shatkam. So we have to make a note of that. And Arjuna was no ordinary soul. He was the most qualified aspirant, extraordinary soul he was. And Krishna puts him into the PG course. Supposing you want to do MTech, you straight away can't jump to MTech from school. First, you have to do your intermediate, then you have to write the G exam, get through that exam, get a seat in BTech. You have to complete your BTech and go to MTech. There's so much of process, step by step you have to go. But here, in the case of Arjuna, Sri Krishna made him sit in the PG course directly. Why? He was an extraordinary soul. And moreover, Arjuna was suffering with bhavaroga. What is bhavaroga? Disease of worldly afflictions. Bhavaroga means disease of worldly afflictions. Krishna observes the mental condition of Arjuna and inspires him with courage and firmness of mind and teaches him the eternal reality of the Atma and the secret of Karma Yoga. This is the subject matter of the second chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. How did Krishna inspire? What did he say? Krishna said, Klaivyam masmagamah partha naitatva yupapadyate kshudram 𝘠𝘓𝘪𝘵 𝘕𝑒𝑚 parantapa. This sloka is very, very famous as well as very, very important. You know, we discussed Swami Vivekananda always carried a small copy of the Bhagavad Gita in his hand wherever he went. So one day, one of his followers asked him, Swamiji, you always carry the Bhagavad Gita in your hand. There are 700 slokas in the Bhagavad Gita. Which sloka attracts you the most? Which is your favorite sloka? To this, Swamiji answered, Klaivyam masmagamah parthanai 𝘠𝘩𝘓𝘓 kshudraм 𝘠𝘩𝘪𝘵𝘢 𝘴𝘦𝘴𝘏𝑡𝑒𝑠⁸ Why? What is the meaning of this sloka? Do not yield to impotency and weakness. It does not befit you, Arjuna. Shake off that wretched weakness from the heart. Uttishtha, arise, awake, get up, O vanquisher of enemies. This is the meaning of the sloka. I like this sloka because Krishna is saying, Kshudraм 𝘠𝘩𝘪𝘵𝘢. Shake off the weakness from your heart, that wretched weakness from your heart. So it is fearlessness that what one requires. So Krishna advocates fearlessness as the foremost virtue. In the 16th chapter, Sri Krishna talks about Daiva Sampada, 26 virtues which a devotee or an aspirant should possess. So out of these 26 virtues, fearlessness is given the first place, abhayam. There it is known as abhayam. That is fearlessness. And Vivekananda says, fear arises from ignorance and fearlessness arises from Atma Vicharana, self-inquiry. Fear brings in misery, fear brings in death, fear brings in negativity. That is why I like this sloka, Kshudraм 𝘠𝘩𝘪𝘵𝘢 𝘴𝘦𝘴𝘴𝑪⁡. So, once Vivekananda was traveling in a train in London. He boarded the train and he got into the second class compartment, and beside him was sitting an English gentleman with suit, a long coat he was wearing. The moment he saw Vivekananda, he started grumbling, muttering something which Vivekananda couldn't understand, but he knew that he didn't like his company, because in those days, the Indians were treated as black people. So he was going on, oh, this blackie, stupid fool, why did he come here? Good for nothing creature, stupid, something all nonsense he was speaking, this English gentleman. Vivekananda did not utter a word. He just sat quietly. After some time, Vivekananda wanted to lie down. So he removed his shoes and got onto the top berth to have a nap. He slept for about 1 hour. After taking the nap, he got down. The moment he got down and sat, he noticed that his shoes were missing. So he searched the whole compartment. He searched here and there, underneath the seats, everywhere he searched. He couldn't find. And this Englishman was giving a sarcastic laugh. Immediately, Vivekananda understood that it was the game of the Englishman. He understood what happened. He kept quiet. He didn't say a word. He was just sitting. After some time, this English gentleman wanted to take a nap. So he removed his long coat he was wearing. He removed it, hung it to the hook there, and went to sleep. What Vivekananda did, he took the coat, threw it out of the window, and sat quietly as if nothing happened. He didn't do anything. After some time, this English gentleman got up. He searched for his coat. He couldn't find. He said, "Hey, you fellow, black fellow, where is my coat?" he asked. Very innocently, Vivekananda said, "Your coat has gone out in search of my shoes." So This was the fearlessness of Vivekananda. Now coming to the main teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. The main teaching of the Bhagavad Gita starts from the 11th sloka. It is known as the bija of Gita Shastra, the seed of Gita Shastra. From here the teaching starts. 𝘴𝘦𝘳𝘪𝘴 𝘙𝑉𝒂𝒎𝒂 गतासु न गतासुश्च नानुशोचन्ति पंडिताः. You weep for those there is no need to weep, and the wise lament neither for the dead nor the living. Why do you weep? This is the meaning of the sloka. Just as the whole tree is involved in the seed, even so the Gita Shastra is implied in this sloka. That is why it is known as the seed of the Gita Shastra. So the message of the Gita starts with 𝘴𝘦𝘧𝘪𝘴, meaning those who should not grieve, those who should not be grieved. And it ends with ma shuchaha in the ending. It ends with ma shuchaha, meaning do not grieve. Those who should not be grieved and do not grieve. These are the two things. So the main purpose of the Gita teaching is removal of sorrow, because we are living in this 𝘸𝘰𝘳𝘪𝘴. This world is full of sorrow. So removal of sorrow is the main teaching of the Bhagavad Gita. In this chapter, Sri Krishna speaks about the Atman. Atma is imperishable, does not perform any action, it is actionless, it cannot be slain. Atma has no birth or death. It is unborn, eternal, changeless, and ancient. The Atma is not destroyed when the body dies. Atma is Sakshi Bhutam. For example, there is a light. A person utilizes that light for reading a book. Another lady utilizes that light for doing her cooking. And another gentleman uses that light for working on his system. The light is the same, but three different people are doing three different works. The light is only a witness, like Sakshi Bhutam. So, the Atma remains only as a witness to the modifications of the body and mind. Once we are born, there are so many changes taking place in the body as well as the mind. The body keeps changing. We are not the same person as we were some years back. If we see our photos or videos, we laugh at our own selves. Look at me how I am in this photo. Look at me how I am in this video. We may be chubby or we may be skinny, bony. The face changes, the tone changes, everything keeps changing. But the Atma does not change. It is only a Sakshi Bhutam. It is only a witness. So the Atma is a witness to the modifications of the body and mind, as well as pleasure and pain. We experience so much of pain, we experience so much of pleasure. So this is witnessed by the Atma. Again, Sri Krishna says, Vasansi jirnani yatha vihaya navani gruhnati naroparani tata sharirani vihaya jirnanyanyani samyati navani dehi. What is the meaning of this? Just as a man casts off his old and worn out clothes and wears new ones, even so, the Atma leaves the unwanted body and enters into another fresh body. We don the garb. I am wearing this sari, but I am not the sari, remember. You wear a shirt, but you are not the shirt. You just don the garb. Remember that. Long ago, Alexander the Great, having conquered a number of countries, finally stepped onto the premises of river Sindhu to invade our great country, Bharat. An ascetic was residing on the banks of the river Sindhu. So Alexander, along with his troop of army, happens to cross that way, and he comes across this hermitage where this ascetic is sitting in front of the hermitage with eyes closed. The moment Alexander sees him, he gets very angry. He thinks, I, Alexander the Great, has come here, and this fool is sitting. How dare he? He should get up and bow before me. I am Alexander the Great. He gets so angry that he removes his sword, and before he could cut his throat, he shouts, hey, you fellow, don't you know I, Alexander the Great, is standing before you, that you have to bow before me? The ascetic slowly opens his eyes and gives a gentle smile. The moment the ascetic smiles, Alexander gets all the more irritated. He feels insulted with pride. How dare you smile at me? Are you not scared? I am ready to cut your throat. Are you not scared of death? He smiles again, the ascetic, and says, why should I be afraid of death? You cannot kill me. I don't have death. You cannot cut me to pieces. I don't fear death. Then he repeats the sloka from the second chapter. The ascetic repeats, Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam 𝘤𝘰𝘓𝘴𝘪𝘴 na 𝘠𝘩𝘪𝘴 marutaha. The meaning of this sloka is, weapons cannot kill me, fire cannot burn me, water cannot wet me, wind cannot blow me, none of the five elemental forces can touch me. I am of the nature of Sat Chit Ananda, existence, knowledge, bliss. So nothing can kill me. When the ascetic said this in a very humble tone, Alexander got a shock of his life. He was flabbergasted. He said, this country, India, has great men who defy even death. How can I invade this country? It will be wrong on my part to invade this great country, this most sacred country, having such great people. He then began to offer his humble salutations to the ascetic. He bowed down, offered his humble salutations to the ascetic, and again he bowed down and touched the soil near the Sindhu river and said, I bow down to this great country of India. My salutations to all the great sages, the abode who stay in India, who are endowed with the wealth of spirituality. So he immediately dropped the idea of invading India and turned back to go back, never to return again. This is the story of Alexander. Just imagine. How could that ascetic gain such courage and fearlessness? It was only because of Atma Vicharana, inquiry into the self, He knew what the Atma is and he knew what the body is. He could discriminate between the Atma and the Anatma. So you cannot know the Atma by the senses. Indriyani paranyahu indriyebhyah param manaha manasastu para buddhiryo buddhe priyatastu vaha. You cannot know the Atma by the senses. You cannot know the Atma by the mind. You cannot know the Atma by the intellect. It is beyond all this. It is above our understanding. The knowledge of Atma is not theoretical knowledge. Somebody tells you understand. No, it is not like that. It is Atmanubhuti. You have to experience and know what the Atma is. It is only through experience you will know what the Atma is. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuhu dhruvam janma mrutasya cha tasmad pariharyerte natvam shochitu marhasi. For that which is born, death is inevitable. And that where death is, where death exists, obviously there is birth. So this is the unalterable law for the body. A guru had many followers and disciples. Among them, there was one householder disciple who was very curious to know how the Guru spent so much time in contemplation and meditation. So on his usual rounds to the ashram, when he had the darshan of the Guru, he went up to the Guru and said, Gurudev, I would like to know, how are you able to sit in contemplation and meditation for 18 hours a day? How do you do it? The Guru smiled at him and said, you will get an answer for your question on the 7th day. But I have some bad news for you. And he slowly whispered, keep it a secret. Do not reveal it even to your wife. See, count from today, 7 days. On the 7th day, you are going to meet death. Death is looming around you. Be careful. You are going to meet death. The moment he said that, that householder disciple, like it was like as if an atom bomb was bursting. He got a shock of his life. He was so scared of death. He returned home quickly and started pondering. So from today is the first day. So I'm going to die next week. This guy was a lethargic person. He used to procrastinate things. He never used to do anything on time. Pending. Any issue he used to keep pending. So he started completing all his works. He became so active, he left his laziness. He completed each and every work in time. And he saw that he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, during early hours of the morning, during the Brahma Muhurta, do meditation, do Surya Namaskara, then do his yoga, pranayama, japa, dhyana, everything. He saw that he did everything. Why? The thought of death was whirling in his mind. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. On the 7th day, he comes back to the Guru. He says, Gurudev, today is the last day of my life. I'm going to die today. Please bless me that I attain salvation. The Guru gave a hearty laugh. You are going to die? No. I just said it simply. You know why? Because I wanted you to know the value of life. You asked me a question. How do you sit so long for 18 hours a day, you sit in contemplation and meditation. That is the answer. You'd see life is such, life is like a water bubble. You don't know when death will approach. So you should be always alert. Then the Guru said, in these 7 days, your mind was totally fixed on the divine. Why? Because you were scared of death. You were totally absorbed in divine thoughts. You didn't do this much sadhana earlier to this period. Even so, I too fix my mind on the divine every moment, because every moment we are coming closer to death. Remember that. Every moment we are coming closer to death. In the words of Pujya Sadhguruji, నీవు ఒక రోజు భోజనం మానవచ్చు, ఒక వారం రోజుల స్నానం మానవచ్చు, కానీ ఒక్క క్షణం కూడా దైవనామాన్ని మరవవద్దు. మృత్యు అనే టెలిగ్రామ్ ఎప్పుడు, ఎక్కడ, ఏ పరిస్థితిలో ఎలా నిన్ను కబలిస్తుందో నీకు తెలియదు. కాబట్టి సదా దైవాన్ని స్మరిస్తూ ఉండాలి. మృత్యువు నిన్ను దరి చేరకముందే నీవు ఆ భగవంతుని ఒడిలో ఒరగాలి. This is what Pujya Sadhguruji says. That means you may miss a meal or remain without taking bath for 7 days, but never forget to chant the name of the divine for even a second. We do not know at which moment, how, when and where the telegram of death will approach us, whether by accident, whether by disease, whether by any calamity or old age. We do not know. So always be alert. Even before death approaches you, try to reach God and merge in the self. This is what our Pujya Sadhguruji says, because there is no guarantee for life. So every moment we should live in such a way that we don't know when we sleep today night, we will get up tomorrow morning or not. We don't have that guarantee. See, if you look deeply, you will see each moment you are dying. That means you are changing. Something is slipping out of your being and something is entering your being. You flow between the two tides of birth and death. The river of life is possible only because of birth and death. And it is each moment that is happening. Sri Krishna says that a Kshatriya who fights a righteous war gains kingdom or heaven. Means it is the duty of a Kshatriya to fight a righteous war. He will either gain his kingdom, or if he dies in the war, he will ascend to heaven. Even so, the man who conquers his internal enemies, who defeats his enemies, attains moksha or liberation. Arise, awake, stop not till the goal is reached, is the clarion call of Swami Vivekananda. It is to wake up man from the deep slumber of ignorance and urge him to meet the challenges of life and face the 1,000 ills and shocks of life with the sword of knowledge and devotion. In the 47th verse, Sri Krishna propounds the doctrine of Karma Yoga. Because in this chapter, he deals with so many subjects, Sri Krishna. 𝘵𝘦𝘳𝘪𝘴 मा फलेषु कदाचन मा कर्म फल हेतुर्भुः मा ते संगोस्त्व कर्मणि. You have a right to work only and not to the fruits of work. It means when you undertake any work, surrender the result to the Lord. Is it so? If that is the case, how can I write an exam? How do people go for examination? Now you go for the GE exam. With what intention you write the exam? To get through the exam, to pass in the exam. That means you have a wish, you desire to pass in the exam. Then if I have to give the fruits of action, 𝘰𝘪𝘵𝑢𝑚 𝑏𝒂𝑎𝑟, what does it mean? How can I write the exam? The true meaning is, you wish for the result. It's not wrong. 𝘰𝘪𝑚 𝑏𝒂𝑎𝑟 𝑚ā You do karma with an intention to obtain the fruit of that work, to obtain the good results. But in cases when you don't get the result as you expect, when you do not achieve your goal, don't get disappointed, don't get frustrated. That is the meaning of the actual sloka. Not that don't wish for the result. Without wishing for result, we don't write an exam. You can't approach any, you don't do any work. No work we can do without expecting the result. So it is not that. You do your action, do your karma with an intention to obtain the result. But when you don't get the expected result, don't get frustrated. Look deep within yourself. What went wrong? Somewhere something went wrong. Don't blame others, but blame yourself. Remember that. So work should be done in nishkama karma, in a way of nishka. That is, work without attachment. How can you work without attachment? Just remember the nurse in the hospital. What does the nurse do? She looks after the patients. She takes care of the patients. Whether the patient is serious, even if the patient is serious, she's least bothered. Whatever she has to do, she will do it. She is unattached. Nishkama karma. She is not attached to the action she is doing. But at the same time, she imposes faith in her work. She does it with commitment. When the patient recovers, there's nothing, there's no difference in her. Even when the patient dies, there is no difference in her. So, if ever you want to do karma, remember the nurse in the hospital and execute your karma. Do the nishkama karma like the nurse in the hospital. The nurse is not at all bothered whether the patient is alive or dead, but she does her duty willingly and with commitment. When mind is purified by nishkama karma, then the knowledge of Atma dawns. It is very difficult to gain the knowledge of Atma. As I already told you, it is not theoretical knowledge. It is only by experience you can gain the knowledge of Atma. And to gain that practical experience, first you have to follow the doctrine of karma yoga. So I think in the next session, we'll be discussing about it in detail, the doctrine of karma yoga. So the characteristics of a man of steady wisdom. A steady wisdom is sthita prajna. Sri Krishna in the end talks about the characteristics of a man of steady wisdom, that is sthita prajna. Mahatma Gandhi ji recited these 18 slokas every day from the 55 to 72. These are 18 slokas. Every day he used to recite these slokas, 18 slokas, Mahatma Gandhi, because they are words of wisdom. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadev kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim. Arjuna is asking, this sthita prajna from the 58 means, see, vishya vinivartante niraharyasya dehinah rasavarjam rasopyasya param dushtva nivartati. Sense objects drop out for the abstinent man. Then again he says, I'll read only the important slokas from this 18. Tani sarvani. Krodhat bhavati sammohaha, sammohat smriti vibhramaha, smriti bhramshat buddhinasho, buddhinashat pranashyati. What is the meaning? From anger proceeds delusion, from delusion confused memory, from confused memory the ruin of reason. Due to the ruin of reason he perishes. Anger is such a deadly canker. So I'm not going in detail about anger and all these qualities because they are repeated in the other chapters. So that is why we are concentrating on those points which are not repeated in the other chapters. Then, Raga Dvesha Vyaktaistyu Vishyan Indriyascharan Atma Vashya Videyatma Prasadima Digachati. The disciplined yogi, moving among objects with the senses under control and free from attraction and aversion, gains in tranquility. Then again he says, Sukha dukkhe same krutva labha labhao jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva nainam papam avapsyasi. Be balanced in both happiness and sorrow, gain or loss, in praise or insult. Be balanced. That is a man of steady wisdom. We should not carry the loads of the world, body and mind during meditation. Why should we have steady wisdom? Steady wisdom, sthita prajna. Because if you want to move forward in life, you have to transform your life. You have to put a step forward. You have to make a new beginning. And we have to do some japa, dhyana. And while you are sitting in meditation, remove the luggage of the body, of the world, of the mind. It is the less the luggage, the more comfort. When you are traveling, even in the railway compartments, I think they write, less luggage, more comfort. Travel makes a man happy. Even so, in this journey of life, let us all have less luggage of desires. Don't carry the bundle of desires, as the Shastras say. Ashaya 𝘰𝘔𝘓𝑒 loke karmana bahuchintaya 𝘴𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑦𝑢 na janati tasmat jagrataha jagrataha jagrata. Ashaya 𝘰𝘔𝑒 loke. You're bound by desires. Karmana bahuchintaya. And you have so many desires to fulfill. 𝘴𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑦𝑢. Your lifespan is decreasing. Na janati. You don't know about it. Tasmat jagrata. Therefore, be careful, be careful, be careful. This is the meaning of the sloka. So desires have to be lessened. Less luggage, more comfort. Remember that. It is easy to leave the luggage. You're traveling to Delhi. You take more than 15 kgs. There in the airport, they will say, no, you have to cut down the luggage or you have to pay extra money. Then you remove all your clothes and you see, you take less luggage. Even so, not more than 15 kgs. So lessen your luggage. It is easy to lessen the luggage, but tendency is very difficult. That's why don't make it a habit. Like in the last session, I told you, sow an action, reap a tendency. So be careful with your actions, what actions you undertake, because it is very, very difficult to get rid of tendencies. There was a dacoit who was prisoned for 10 years in jail. So after 10 years, they released him. So before going home, the superintendent of the jail meets him and tells, see, by mistake, you were made to stay 10 days extra. Before the superintendent could complete his sentence, the prisoner said, don't worry, sir. In my next visit to the jail, you cut down those 10 days. That means the tendency to rob has not gone from him. In my next visit to the jail means he wants to come back to the jail again. The tendency has not changed. So it is very difficult to get rid of the tendencies. So today we have learned that we should reject the sense objects by withdrawing the senses. Just as a tortoise draws back its limbs into its own shell, one should withdraw all the senses from the sense objects. 𝘤𝘰𝘷𝘦𝘳𝘪𝘴 𝑠arvashah. What does the tortoise do? The tortoise withdraws its limbs into its own shell. Even so, withdraw your senses from the sense objects. That is the characteristic of a 𝘰𝘩𝑚𝑒, a man of steady wisdom. That is why we always say, start the day with God, fill the day with God, end the day with God. This is the way to God. So here we end the session, but now we have to repeat the slokas. We have to learn the sloka from the second chapter. If you have the Gita with you, please open the book. First, we'll repeat the Dhyana Shloka, the second Dhyana Shloka. And then we'll go to the second Shloka from the, that means the second chapter. So, let's repeat. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe.
Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe.
𝘠𝑙𝑙𝑎रविन्दायतपत्र नेत्र
𝘠𝑙𝑙ारविन्दायतपत्र नेत्र 𝘠𝑙𝑙ारविन्दायतपत्र नेत्र 𝘠𝑙𝑙ारविन्दायतपत्र नेत्र
येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः
येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः
प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः
प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे 𝘠𝑙𝑙ारविन्दायतपत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः.
Now we'll repeat the Bhagavad Gita sloka from the second chapter. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shri 𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑡𝑎 Jatas. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shri 𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑡𝑎 Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh.
Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Atha Srimad Bhagavad Gita Shri 𝘠𝑗𝑎𝑡𝑎 Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh.
Dhruvam janma mritasya cha.
Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha.
Tasmadapariharyerthe.
Tasmadapariharyerthe. Tasmadapariharyerthe. Tasmadapariharyerthe.
Natvam shochitumarhasi.
Natvam sochitumarhasi. Natvam sochitumarhasi. Natvam sochitumarhasi. Shri Bhagavan Vacha. Jatasya hi dhruvo mrityuh. Dhruvam janma mritasya cha. तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Now we'll repeat from the beginning, Parthaya and Namostute.
ॐ पार्थाय प्रतिबोधितां भगवता नारायणेन स्वयं व्यासेन ग्रथितां पुराणमुनिना मध्ये महाभारतम् अद्वैतामृतवर्षिणीं भगवतीम् अष्टादशाध्यायिनीम् अम्ब त्वामनुसन्दधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणीं नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयः प्रदीपः. ॐ श्रीपरमात्मने नमः. अथ श्रीमद्भगवद्गीता धृतराष्ट्र उवाच. धर्मक्षेत्रे कुरुक्षेत्रे समवेतायुयुत्सवः मामकः पाण्डवाश्चैव किमकुर्वत सञ्जय. अर्जुन उवाच न काङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च किं नो राज्येन गोविन्द किं भोगैर्जीवितेन वा. श्रीभगवानुवाच जातस्य हि ध्रुवो मृत्युः ध्रुवं जन्म मृतस्य च तस्मादपरिहार्येऽर्थे न त्वं शोचितुमर्हसि.
Now we'll close the session. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah, sarve santu niramaya, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschid dukkha bhag bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Thank you.